Hello everyone and welcome. If you are feeling stuck making your methodology section truly interdisciplinary, you are not alone. Actually, a lot of proposals rely on the same basic designs and end up being quite generic. In this video, I'm going to show you how to break through that plateau and rethink about these tasks from 5 core methodology elements, and also trying to pair them creatively with other disciplines' methods, so that it is your proposals that grabs reviewers' attention and actually proposes a genuine interdisciplinary innovation. So first of all, MSCA PF understand interdisciplinarity in terms of what is called Level 1 MSCA keywords. I will link this document below to check for yourself whether the project you propose is actually considered interdisciplinary, at least formally by the MSCA definitions. That being said, I don't think that many reviewers will actually be this pedantic and will not really stick to what truly interdisciplinary method is by MSCA. However, the more you think about it in the ways that actually cut across these larger disciplinary categories, specifically in this document, the more likely that you are going to come up with something truly original. We are going to look at 5 core elements by any project's methodology that can be brainstormed for innovation. These are: first, research design and data collection, then measures and concepts, then settings and tasks, then data analysis plans, and also reporting strategies. And I will show you how to come up with fresh interdisciplinary twists with some concrete examples from non-adjacent disciplines. First, let's talk about research design and data collection. When you think about innovating here, ask yourself, how can I combine traditional sampling and recruitment strategies in my discipline with some cutting-edge technologies or methodologies in other disciplines? So if I'm a social scientist, I can ask myself, can I expand beyond surveys and interviews to capture perhaps more richer or even real-time behavior? For example, instead of classic participant observation, I could imagine a sociological field study that collects data from eye-tracking glasses, VR sets, or even LiDAR mapping in public or private spaces. By merging methods in social anthropology with those in computer science and informatics, you could collect large-scale, precise observational data, something that is not that common in anthropology or sociology so far. Next up, let's talk about measures and concepts. Innovation comes from treating your independent and dependent variables as some kind of operationalized theoretical constructs, which perhaps need to be deconstructed and reconstructed again. So ask yourself, for example, what philosophical and theoretical frameworks can guide how I define and operationalize my variables? In a neuroscience project, you might partner your research with a philosophical methodology. So for instance, you could use philosophical conceptual analysis or phenomenology to break consciousness into first-person reported and third-person observed elements of variables, which is to say to deconstruct the concept of consciousness. Then build neuroscience experiments based on these elements, which could also follow some type of a grounded theory-like reiteration process and guided by microphenomenological debriefing interviews, resulting in some kind of new theoretical framework, aka reconstruct this concept. And I know to some of you this sounds like a word soup, and I'm not a philosopher or a neuroscientist, so I might be misusing some of these terms, but I have some understanding of these methodologies, so I speak out of my own experiences. Third, you could innovate on some elements of settings, materials, tasks, and protocols. Settings by themselves might not be necessarily perceived as a big innovation because it's quite trite to just set it somewhere else. In this part of methodology, the innovation is often a little less convincing, unless it is combined with some sort of a practical or technological implementation. For example, you could think about embedding pedagogical theory right into the new tech platform that you will be developing yourself. So it shouldn't be some type of a project where you just upload some new quizzes to an existing e-learning platform, but perhaps you could develop this or design this platform yourself, and this design could come directly from pedagogical research. Then you could log every event, run live A/B experiments, and then also perhaps implement deep knowledge tracing models, etc., etc. Innovations here is not necessarily deeply theoretical or methodological, but more on a practical implementation level. Fourth, your innovations can be in your data analysis plan. But to be honest, if you implement innovation in any of the above mentioned parts, this part will be actually unavoidable. Here, innovation means using other disciplines' method in your research project in your own discipline. This is very similar to both innovating in research design or measures and concepts. This is because the application of new methods usually comes natural from one of those above. Say you could test ideas from psychological theory with advanced computational tools. For instance, you could imagine recording trauma survivors' spoken narratives, then applying NLP pipelines and fine-tune LLMs to detect linguistic markers of PTSD. Depending on your design, then you could implement some unsupervised learning, some perhaps even supervised classifiers, or even self-supervised pipelines. So here, it is not necessarily advancing what we know about linguistic differences of people with PTSD, it's just refining what we already know with a little more precision in modeling. Finally, if you cannot figure out what to innovate in any of the above, you can also try to come up with an innovation in how you plan for reporting your findings. Here, ask yourself, how can I turn dissemination itself into an experiment? For example, you could blend public health content with communication science and A/B test digital health messages on social media. So you could run an info campaign with various framing of vaccine effectiveness messages, then measure engagement and comprehension across different demographics, and then directly feed those insights back into your policy brief, which you could produce as one of your dissemination and communication activities. Overall, just first asking, how can I rethink this element in my project methodology? And then pairing disciplines in unexpected ways, you can actually stumble upon some true methodological innovations. Give these strategies a try, drop some interesting examples in the comments if you can, and don't forget to reach out on the Slack channel. Good luck with your applications.